Good morning, everyone. As you can see, I am not where I usually am. I am at the office at Cuffs. I have some things I need to do later today. So yeah, different background for you today, I guess. I hope you're all doing well. This is the last Saturday class for this semester. So you have to wait until next semester to have this again. Of course, there are 2 more classes after mine, so please stay tuned after my class. You'll have Professor Kevin McCotter and Professor Brandon Nolan as well. But yeah, this is the last day, so I hope you enjoy. Luna says sad. To some, yes. Today's going to be an interesting topic because we're talking about something people don't talk about. We're talking about sensitive topics. So let me jump into the PowerPoint. So Marvin Olasky has this to say on sensitive topics. He says, on sensitive topics, talk isn't cheap. It means that, people can't just easily talk about something. Talk isn't cheap means you can't easily talk about it. It takes real courage to pry open topics nailed shut. So what he's saying is that when we're talking about sensitive topics, it's not easy to talk about. It's not something people want to talk about. It's not something that's simple to talk about or comfortable to talk about. It takes courage to open these topics and discuss them. So when we're talking about sensitive topics, what is a question that you never ever ask another person because it's too personal? What's something you just don't ask other people because it's too personal? I'll tell you one thing that really struck me as living in Korea is how often and how common it is in Korea that when you first meet somebody, you ask their age. Now, in Korean culture, this makes sense. You need to know the age, to know, how you're going to talk, panmal, tondetmal, all that. But in the West, you would not ask someone their age. Even if you've known them for a long time, it's usually quite a sensitive topic. You don't ask people their age. It would be like when you meet somebody the first time asking how much they weigh. Like, oh, hi, my name's Josh. How much do you weigh? It'd be seen as rather rude. So in the US, don't do that. Don't ask people their age right away. It's a sensitive topic. So what is a sensitive topic or a question that you never ask because it's too personal? What's something that you shouldn't ask someone because it's too personal? What do you think? I'll wait for some comments in the chat. Or you could answer the second question. Have you ever wanted to ask something but you didn't because you knew it was a sensitive topic? Luna has said, how much do you earn? Yes, that's another sensitive topic. You don't ask people how much money they make. In fact, I've heard it many times that it's like against company policy. You shouldn't ask other coworkers how much they make. I don't know about in Korea, but in US, it is okay to ask your coworkers how much they make. In fact, some people encourage it. Not bosses, not the companies, but if you and I have the same job, the same hours, the same everything, but I make more money than you do, we should know about that so that you can go to the boss and say, excuse me, why is he making more money than me? This is not fair, so that workers can fight for fair compensation. So I think it's a good thing for coworkers to discuss it, especially if you're on the same level. You should be getting the same pay, but it doesn't always happen. But just asking a stranger or even a friend how much they make, yeah, it's a sensitive topic. In says, reason for divorce. Yeah, that's a sensitive topic. If someone gets divorced, it's usually not a great thing to ask why. Jenny says, politics maybe. Yeah, especially nowadays, politics is a hot topic that can really set people off and make them angry or very, energetic maybe, too much. So be careful talking about politics. What are some topics that you shouldn't talk about with people who aren't your family or friends? This is kind of the same idea. What is taboo to talk about with people not family or friends? I'll talk about politics with family and friends. How much I earn? I mean, if someone asks, I will tell them, but I don't normally bring it up. What is something that you think is okay to talk about with family and friends, but you shouldn't discuss with other people? Anyone have any thoughts? Anyone? Relationship status. Yeah, that's a good one. So maybe talking about, are you married? Are you single? I know that I heard this when I first got married, and I know lots of people hear it when they first get married. Is people asking, oh, so when are you going to have kids? Are you going to have kids? That's just none of their business, and they shouldn't ask that. Because if they're going to have kids, they're going to have kids. It's their own choice. I feel, and I have kids, so I mean, I have done that. But hearing that as a newlywed is not a nice thing to hear. Family secrets. Yeah, you shouldn't talk about family secrets outside the family unless people need to know, unless it's like a criminal thing. Luna says, one of my students has really short hair and she is just 6 years old. I wanted to ask why, but I couldn't. Okay, so asking why someone has short hair if they're a girl, maybe. It's becoming more common though, so maybe no reason at all. Maybe she just cut her own hair and her parents had to do something to fix it. Kids will cut their own hair sometimes. Okie dokie. So, I want to tell you some ways that you can discuss sensitive topics. Ways that you can discuss them without getting in trouble, without hurting people. I'm not saying you should always discuss sensitive topics, but if you need to, here are some tips for doing it and not stepping on people's toes. Now, stepping on people's toes, I'm going to write this in the chat. Step on someone's toes means to hurt their feelings. So you don't want to step on someone's toes. You don't want to hurt their feelings. So here's some ways that you can go about doing that. First, send a warning. So before asking about a sensitive topic, warn the other person with key phrases. So basically you're warning them that, hey, I'm about to ask a sensitive question. So you're warning them. You're not just hitting them without any warning to them. So here's an example. You can say, you don't have to answer, but. That's one phrase you can use. You don't have to answer, but. So you don't have to answer, but I was wondering how old you are. You don't have to answer, but I was wondering if you're single. You don't have to answer, but I was wondering how much do you make? So saying you don't have to answer, but is kind of a warning that you're going to ask a sensitive topic. Next is keep an open mind. If you're going to ask about sensitive topics, you may get an answer that you don't like. You may get an answer that you don't agree with. But don't judge people. Instead, try to understand, even if you don't agree. So this is when you're discussing sensitive topics, especially if you're talking to someone who supports it and you don't support it, or vice versa. Keep an open mind. Now, my example sentence is a little bit strange, but again, keep an open mind. I don't understand why some people like to dress like babies, but I'm not judging anyone. Yeah, so I've seen this like documentary about adults who dress like babies. I don't understand it, but I'm not judging anyone. I really don't understand it, but I'm not judging people. So try to keep an open mind. When you're asking about sensitive topics, it's sensitive for a reason. People don't talk about it because either it's privacy issues or it's just like politics. People are going to strongly agree or strongly disagree with things. back up your case. If you want to talk about a sensitive topic and you want to have a strong opinion, you want to strongly say, I am right, you need to back up your case. You need to have facts. You cannot use only opinions to support your thoughts on sensitive topics. You cannot. So, according to the BBC, obesity is a disease, not a healthy lifestyle. I misspelled healthy there. Sorry. That should be HEALTHY. So, some people say that every size is beautiful, every size is healthy. Beautiful, yes. Healthy, no. Obesity is a disease. It's not a healthy lifestyle. This is backed up by the BBC, by WHO, by others. You need to have facts to support your opinions on sensitive topics if you're trying to argue. If you're not trying to argue, you don't need to have facts. If you're just talking opinions, that's okay. But if you want to support your opinion, use facts. Now, when you're discussing sensitive topics, maybe the other person doesn't want to talk about it, or maybe the other person becomes aggressive, or you start fighting with each other. Look, if the other person becomes aggressive, or if you're fighting, just drop the topic. Just be ready to stop talking. And you can say that by saying, I think we'll just have to drop this for now. Anyway, let's change the topic. So yeah, just drop the topic. Be ready to drop it, because sensitive topics, even if you're trying to be sensitive, even if you're trying to be understanding, they can turn sour. Turn sour means it can be bad, and you can start fighting or become aggressive and just, yeah, bad. Okay, I have a comment in the chat. How do you know if he or she is not single if you don't ask them? In Korea, it is important because sometimes people misunderstand the intention of other people. For example, flirting. So I guess, how do you know if he or she is not single? I think I've been married so long, I don't answer this question. I haven't been single in a long time. I guess if people are flirting with you, if you think they're flirting with you, if you meet somebody and you think that they're flirting with you, or you want to kind of put this boundary between you to say, hey, look, I'm not available, just bring it up naturally. Just show them a picture of your wife or husband or kids. Bring up a story, how you recently went on vacation with your family, something like that. That shows that you're not single. And vice versa, the other person should do that as well. I guess I don't really have a good answer for this. I haven't been in this kind of situation for a while. Okay, let's do a practice activity. This is where to draw the line. So when I say draw the line, I mean this is where you should stop. This is where enough is enough. You draw the line here, not here, but here. It means above here is too much. This is where you should draw the line. This is where I can agree about this sensitive topic. So we're going to discuss where should you draw the line, because people have different ideas, different opinions. What is your opinion? Where should the line be drawn about this particular topic? So let's look at a few topics. It says choose one of the following sensitive topics, but we're going to do all of them one at a time. So first is nudity on television. Now these are sensitive topics. So we're talking sensitive topics. Where do you think the line should be drawn on nudity on television? That means, like, how much is okay? When is it okay? What channels is it okay? What is your opinion? What is the line? Where should the line be? Maybe you don't want to talk about this, but hey, this is YouTube. I'm the only one talking. All you have to do is chat in your little chat window, typing. So you kind of have anonymity there, which is nice. So yeah, what is your opinion? What is too much? Where should the line be drawn? Give me some thoughts in the chat room. And you can also be thinking about these other topics while we're talking about this one. But I want to talk about all these. We have time. I'd like to discuss. Where do you think we should draw the line? Waiting for some comments. I'll show you my wonderful office again. It's kind of warm in here. Any thoughts? Any thoughts about where we should draw the line? Nudity on television, or no one wants to talk about it? Should I just drop it? Okay, In says, I think nudity is okay after 10 p.m. Okay, good. I think that's kind of common that they usually show more of those kinds of shows after a certain time. Luna says, I think nudity is okay if they cover with something. Well, that's not nudity. If you cover with something, that's not nudity. But I think physical affection on TV is much more problem. Okay, I don't understand how it can be nudity if they cover with something. I mean, we're all wearing clothes. That's covering something. I think physical affection on TV is much more of a problem. Okay, yeah. See, okay, wait, I'm going to keep reading these. Sorry, then I'll give my opinion. It's really depending on the situation and circumstances, for example. If it's comedy, maybe nudity is a bit acceptable. I mean, mojaik? I don't know how to say it. Moja? Hat? Eek? Mojaik? I don't know. I don't know. You mean like the black squares? Is that what you mean? Like the black squares, or like the pixels where you can't see clearly? Is that what you're talking about? I've never heard this word before. And I don't know if it's Korean or Konglish. The pixels, is that what we're talking about? The pixels? Okay, if it's like pixelated. So they call it pixelated. I'll type that. Pixelated. Okay. If it's pixelated, it's okay. Okay, cool. See, I'm of the opinion, now, in Europe, nudity is much more okay on TV. It's like, even during the daytime, some nudity is okay. They don't care. Not a big deal. At least from the top up, it's more okay. In America, no. No. But see, I have a different opinion. In my opinion, nudity would be more okay because in America, we have a problem with violence on TV. They can show people blowing up. They can show heads exploding. They can show all sorts of just disgusting violence, stabbing people, shooting people in the head. This is all okay. That's okay. But a little bit of nudity? No way. To me, it just doesn't make sense why violence is okay. And showing so much explicit violence is okay on TV, but nudity isn't. It just doesn't make sense to me. So that's my thought. Okay, let's move on to the next idea. Which drugs should be legal? Which drugs should be okay to use? And which drugs should not be okay to use? Where do you draw the line? Like right now, if we think about in Korea and in most places, what drugs are legal? Well, caffeine. Caffeine is a drug. I'm drinking coffee right now. That's a drug. Caffeine is, people think it's not even a big deal. But if you drink too much caffeine, it will kill you. What else? Cigarettes. Nicotine is also a drug, and it's accepted in most places. Alcohol is a type of drug. It's a depressant. That's accepted for most people as long as you're old enough. So people accept these drugs. But what about other drugs? What is... Well, again, Luna, your sentences are cracking me up. Every illegal drug is not okay. Well, yeah, if it's illegal, it's not okay. If it's illegal, it's not okay, of course. But there are legal drugs in Korea. There are legal drugs like alcohol and nicotine. And those are drugs that are legal. But illegal drugs, yeah, not okay. But what drugs should be legal? Where do you think we draw the line? Where do we draw the line here? Like in America, it's becoming more and more accepted that marijuana is okay. More and more places are selling it legally. You can just go to a store and buy it without As long as you're old enough, they don't care. Let's see, I'm seeing some topics. If many people use for a necessary reason, that drug should be acceptable. Maybe. For a necessary reason. But like, I kind of disagree with that because alcohol is not necessary. Cigarettes, not necessary. You don't need them. They hurt you, but they are legal. In fact, what is the most drunk alcohol on earth? What, like, is it beer? Is it wine? Is it vodka? What is the most, every year, most liters of alcohol drunk every year? What alcohol? Does anyone know? What alcohol is most drunk every year? Is it vodka or whiskey or beer? What do you think? What do you think is the most drunk alcohol on earth? Anyone? You know? Waiting for an answer to my question because this is a good answer. Beer? No. No, surprisingly. The most bottles or most liters drunk? Yes, Jenny. Soju. Soju, more than vodka, more than whiskey, more than all of those, more than wine, is soju. Korea has a problem with alcohol, and it is a drug, and it's not necessary, but it's legal. In fact, I would say that alcohol is more legal here than it is in America. Because in America, you can't walk outside while you're drinking. You can't drink beer on the sidewalk. You cannot. You will get arrested. You can't drink beer in a park in the US. You can't buy alcohol on Sundays in some places. It's much more regulated in America than in Korea. So yes, America, you can buy marijuana more easily than Korea. But Korea, alcohol is much more open than in America. In the world, yes, soju in the world is higher than other alcohols. Like on a per capita, like per liter basis. Yeah, it's crazy. We can in Korea. What we can what? We can drink alcohol outside? Yeah. Let's see. The drugs for addiction or affecting health badly, that shouldn't be, maybe. Well, again, cigarettes, really bad. Weed for medicine can be acceptable. So weed meaning marijuana can be acceptable. Okay. I think it should be acceptable. I mean, they're showing more and more and more that certain types of marijuana, because there's different types, are actually very, very good for like cancer patients. One example, I'll give you one example. There's lots of examples. But one example is if you've ever watched movies where there's people smoking marijuanas or you've read stories about it, you know that usually when you smoke marijuana, you get very hungry afterwards. They call it the munchies. You get very hungry and you want to eat fast food or just all sorts of stuff. That's actually a good thing for cancer patients because some cancer patients going through chemotherapy, they lose their appetite and they don't want to eat because they just feel nauseated and sick all the time. When you don't eat, you get weaker. When you get weaker, you can't fight the cancer. But if you smoke marijuana, you get hungry and you eat and you get stronger. So it can be beneficial in very simple ways like that too. Let's see, Luna says, okay, I think marijuana is okay if they sell it as for treatment. And I think the biggest problem in Korea is that we alleviate the crime if people are drunk. Really? We alleviate crime if people? I didn't know that. In America, like, if you're driving drunk, it's a big deal. You cannot drive drunk. You can't drink and drive. If someone committed a crime and they're drunk, the court mitigates the circumstances. Wow, that's crazy. That should not be right. If you're drunk, you're responsible for your actions. Alcohol should pay more tax. Korea is too generous. Yeah, cigarettes should pay more tax because people who smoke cigarettes all their life are a very heavy burden on the healthcare system. They should be paying more taxes on cigarettes. Like I said last week, in Australia, if you try to buy cigarettes, one pack of cigarettes, not one carton, one pack of like 20 cigarettes is like samanwon. It's very expensive because of the taxes. Okay, next topic is violence in video games. I touched on this a little bit before about, I think that violence is a problem. Do you think that violence in video games is a problem? Where should we draw the line on violence in video games? What do you think? What is okay? What is not okay? Violence in video games. Where do we draw the line? What's okay? What's not okay? Waiting for some comments. I am seeing nothing. Any thoughts? If not, we'll move on to the next one. Anyone? Okay, I think it is okay, but people who are using it are not okay. There is a certain age limit, but most of the people or parents let their children play the games. Yeah, I think, okay, wait, and like in animations, they have like showdowns? I'm not sure. Showdowns? What does that mean? Like fighting each other? I think it's okay, it's a game, Jenny says. Yeah, I think, like we talked about nudity on television, some people saying it's okay after 10 p.m. or something. I think that it's okay, but like movies, movies right now, if you go to the movies, you have like PG, PG-13, R. That should also be, and it is for video games. They have the same, not the same rating, but same idea for video games. And young kids, like under 10 years old at least, should not be playing these super violent games, in my opinion. You have limits for, how mature they are and how they can see things. So yeah, I would not let my kids who are super young play these super violent video games. No way. But when they're older, they should have that choice. Let's see. Wow, lots of comments came in. I really think they should make some strong rules for this. Violence in video games really affects people's minds. And In says, I like video games, but they should include some warning, like it is not real. Do not follow their actions. Okay, good. Luna says, my first son is 10 years old, but his friends are playing over 19 games or watching movies. I think that is, that's really a big gap in what they should be doing. Yes, kids can be affected a lot, not like adults. Yes, they can. So yeah, basically we need to have stronger rules for, at least for age groups. But again, the government can't really restrict this. It needs to be parents restricting this, I think. Parents saying, that, no, you're not doing that. You need to play something more age appropriate. Okay, now a little bit different, a little bit more sensitive. Religion in school. Where do we draw the line? Where do we draw the line? Like, should schools be able to make children pray, for example? Should schools make their children do some kind of worship or some kind of religion thing? Where do we draw the line? Excuse me. Where do we draw the line for religion in school? What is too much? Luna says, if you choose the school because of the religious thing, then I think it's okay. Well, yeah. I mean, if the school is a religious school, then yeah, it's okay. If it is like we are a Christian school, then you expect that. But I'm kind of more talking about public schools. Like, I'll give an example. This is a real example from me. My daughter has started Yuchiwan, kindergarten, for the first time this year. And so, of course, we had to go around and look at different Yuchiwan and see which one we wanted to do. And we just went to very generic, just general, not religious, just regular Yuchiwan around. We didn't do an English-speaking Yuchiwan, just a regular Yuchiwan around our neighborhood. We visited a few. We visited one, and I just thought it was a regular Yuchiwan, nothing wrong with it. But then they're like saying that we teach the children to say, thank you, Jesus, when they have food and things like that. And I just said, no, we're not doing this one. I don't care how nice it is. We're not doing this. I don't want my kids going to a religious school. I just don't at all. So I just said, no, we're not doing that one. Because I don't like how they snuck that in, how they said that, we're not a religious school, but we are. I don't like that. I don't think that public institutions, public schools should be able to do that, in my opinion. Let's see. Whoa, lots of comments came in. Jenny says maybe, oh, bless you, thank you. Maybe only introduction of each religion. See, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad thing to teach about religions. I mean, if you have like a religion class or just introducing each religion like equally, that's fine. But making students do things, I don't like. Force them to shave their head. So we should not force them to shave their head, or we should? I think not force them to shave their head. That's a pretty extreme one, though. School needs independence for religion, or school gives options to select religion at worship time. Okay, yeah. I don't think school should have worship time, personally. Can't think about any religious activities at school. Why do they do that? They do that in America. It's becoming more common that, or not more common, but it is common that in some areas just they accept it. It's like it's okay to have especially Christian influences in public schools, not private schools. I don't think school can make kids to pray or attend worship session. Luna says, if public schools do that, that is wrong. Children need to know what they can believe, not only one religion. Yes. Basically, public schools, no. Private schools, they can do what they want if you know what you're getting into. If you know what they're going to do, in my opinion. Punishment for criminals. What is too much? Where do we draw the line? For example, is the death penalty okay? What is too much punishment for criminals? Where do we draw the line? And this can be kind of a political thing as well. But where do we draw the line for punishment for criminals? Is life in prison okay? Is death penalty okay? What kind of life should they have in prison? Because I know that American prisons are not nice places to be. Not a nice place to be at all. But prisons in some Scandinavian countries like Norway or Sweden, they're pretty nice. They look, I wouldn't mind living there. If you've seen pictures online, prisons in Norway, pretty nice. Not a bad place to stay. So where do we draw the line for criminals in prison, for example? What sort of punishment is too much? None for criminals. At least they're not actually bad people. Let's see. Another Luna says, if criminal's crime is definite, I agree with death penalty. If they wanted to be treated like human, they should act like it. Okay? That's how some people believe, yeah. The death penalty is okay. That's what they say. If it's definite, there have been people in the US that they were convicted and they were innocent. And they had the death penalty, and they didn't realize until afterwards that, oh, we made a mistake. By then, it's too late. And I think that's, in my opinion, giving one innocent person the death penalty makes it where I don't want to have death penalty at all. Because if we could make a mistake, even if it's like tiny percentage possible, if we make a mistake, that's just unacceptable in my opinion. Jenny says, yes, it's true some celebrities have better conditions than others when they go to jail, like the former president. Has there been a Korean president who hasn't gone to jail or had some kind of criminal scandal? I don't know. I feel like the past two presidents are in jail, right? Am I misremembering? The U.S.'s past president should be in jail. That's another sensitive topic. Yeah, I'm of the opinion that prison should be rehabilitation. It should be not just punishment, but rehabilitation. Like trying to help person fix themselves, not just pure punishment. That doesn't work. Also, in the US, it's really bad because if you've been convicted of a crime, especially a federal crime, like a big crime, even after you have gone to prison and after you've done everything you're supposed to do, your life is ruined. It's going to be almost impossible for you to get a job, very difficult to get like a loan for a house. Your whole life is destroyed, even though you have already paid your debt to society. And I think that's just not fair. Let's see. Jenny says some criminals want to go back to jail again because they like the conditions there. Some people get used to it. Yeah. Let's see. What says everyone? I'm not sure what that's in response to. Oh, sad history in Korea, says Chung Daon. Every president has gone to jail. It's tradition in Korea. Incest. Tradition. So sad. Yeah, okay. We have one more topic to look at. Let's look at swearing in public. Now, please, please, please do not write swear words in the chat. I could get in trouble for that. Don't write swear words in the chat. But, you know, you can write the S word, like literally S word. That's okay. But don't write the actual words in the chat. I could get in trouble for that. But swearing in public. What is too much? Can people swear in public? Where should they not swear in public? What words are too much? Things like that. We can talk about Korean or English, but please, please, please be mindful of what you write in the chat room because the YouTube algorithms could really get me in trouble here. So what is too much for swearing in public? I mean, like, I'll wait to give my opinion. I want to hear some other opinions first. Then we have like 20 minutes where I'm going to quickly go through some phrases that we can use when talking about sensitive topics. Luna says, nowadays many people say F word, but I think that's too much too. They say it in front of their kids. Yeah, I agree. Saying it in front of kids, not cool. It's the same idea of like violence on TV and nudity on TV. We shouldn't be exposing kids to these things, and they will be naturally exposed when they're older. But when they're very young, I don't think it's a good idea at all. Any other thoughts? And again, I'll talk about some differences in countries. I know that like in America, you cannot use swear words on TV. In fact, if there is a movie, what's a good example of a movie? I can't think, but if there's like an R-rated movie, oh, like, okay, let's say Deadpool. If you've ever heard of Deadpool, wow, that is an R-rated movie. And they have lots of swear words in that. Now, if that movie comes on regular TV, if they show it on just regular TV in the US, they will edit the swear words. They will change it so that either you can't hear it or he's saying something different. That's what they do sometimes. They just change the words so like they edit over it and dub. It's called dubbing. They dub over it and make him say a different word. That's not a bad word. It kind of matches the movement of his lips. So in America, no. You don't say swear words on TV, regular TV. In the UK, it's okay. You can say swear words on TV, most of them. It's okay, especially late at night. They don't care at all. They will say all sorts of swear words on TV in the UK. So it's just different kind of ideas, principles. Let's see, Jenny says, no swearing in public. That's going to be hard to stop. Please note, what is the topic? The topic is swearing in public. How much should we swear? Like say bad words in public. Let's see. Yeah, I watched that one, Luna says, and it started with F and ended with F. The movie? Oh yeah, it's rated R for a reason. N says children need protection from swearing and other sensitive words, but it's acceptable for adults. Some adults need some swearing and insulting when they deserve it. Yeah, I can agree with that. Okay, now you can still throw in some comments if you want in the chat, and I'll get to them in a minute. But let's look at some phrases that you can use when you're talking about sensitive topics. Now, this is one I already brought up earlier. This is when you're sending a warning shot. You're sending a warning to people saying, look, I'm about to talk about a sensitive topic. So yeah, use this phrase when you're going to ask a personal question. You don't have to answer this, but. So you don't have to answer this, but I was wondering how much you weigh. And I have a lovely picture of a fat cat on there. I'm wondering how much he weighs. So you don't have to answer this, but I was wondering how much you weigh. Yeah, don't ask people how much they weigh. Don't ask, even, especially women, I know, but even men don't like being asked it sometimes. I know that especially when I was younger, and this sounds weird, I know, but especially when I was younger, like in my 20s, I did not like to be asked how much I weighed, because it was the opposite of some people saying like they don't want to be asked because they feel like they weigh too much. I weighed too little when I was younger. For reference, I am 175 centimeters, 5 feet 9 inches. And when I was in my 20s, yeah, we'll say this. When I was in university, I weighed about 53 kilograms, which is very skinny for someone of my height. I didn't like it. I did not like being asked how much I weighed because I didn't want to weigh that much. I wanted to weigh more. So yeah, don't ask people how much they weigh. Let's see. Yeah, Jenny says, I don't understand why people want to know about others' weight. People just want to compare. They just want to know. Am I more or less? Let's see. Can I ask you something? Again, this is another thing that's kind of a warning. Like if you're going to ask a personal question, you can ask this first. Kind of like you don't have to answer this but. So can I ask you something? Are you Muslim? So you can ask a personal question without being rude. Again, I mean, you shouldn't overuse this. It's still rude to say, can I ask you something? How much do you weigh? That's still rude, but at least this is a tiny bit less rude. So yeah, so can I ask you something? Another one. Do you mind if I ask da 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 da? Again, use this phrase when you're going to ask a personal question. Do you mind if I ask where you're from? Do you mind if I ask where you're from? Now, this is another question that, depending on the context, it can be good or bad. Like when people in Korea ask me where I'm from. That's not rude. That's okay. Do you mind if I ask where you're from? Yeah, I don't mind. From the US. I don't mind at all. That's not rude. But context matters. Because there's a problem, I'm sure that you've seen on the news. There's a problem nowadays. I'm sure it's always been there, but for some reason it's really bad now. With Asian hate crimes in the US, especially on the West Coast, especially California. I don't know why. I haven't lived in the US for a long time, so I'm seeing the same news that you are. But so for some reason there's Asian hate crimes going on in the US, and so asking an Asian person in the US, do you mind if I ask where are you from? That can be bad. Especially, and this happens. I know people this has happened to. When an Asian American, like, they look Asian, but they're American. They grew up in America, they were born in America. When they ask, where are you from? It's like, oh, I'm from New York City. I'm like, no, where are you really from? That's really rude and quite racist, actually. So it depends on context, asking some questions. Let me go to the chat. Is it rude to ask what religion people have? I hear a lot, are you Jewish? It can be sensitive. That can be a sensitive topic for a number of reasons. How do I explain this? If you're judging someone by their appearance, if you're looking at their appearance, not how they dress, but their skin tone or their facial features, and you're saying, ooh, is that person Muslim? Is that person Jewish? That's bad. That's racist. If you're judging someone based on how they physically look, and you're saying, ooh, can I ask you, are you Muslim? Because you look Muslim. That's rude and racist. See, it depends. It depends. Like, if you were to ask me, just a generic, regular-looking dude, what religion I am, I don't think that's rude. But if you start asking specifically, I think they're that religion because they look like this, that's where things are bad. Okay, let's move on. I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but. So use this phrase when you don't have a choice about discussing a sensitive topic. You're going to discuss a sensitive topic. You have to discuss it, but you don't want to. So I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but. So my example sentence says, I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but your girlfriend is cheating on you. So yeah, you can use this to discuss a sensitive topic that you don't want to talk about, but you have to talk about. Yeah, I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but I heard you're about to get fired. You might want to start looking for a new job. Something like that. A sensitive topic that you don't want to say, but you have to, or you feel like you have to. I wish I didn't have to tell you this, but. So that's another useful phrase. Okay, next one. Yes, but you have to admit. Use this sentence when you want to disagree with someone's opinion on a sensitive topic. Let me say that again. Use this sentence when you want to disagree. So this is a sentence where you're calmly disagreeing with someone's opinion. So my example sentence is, yes. So maybe you're having a discussion about, like, I've heard this before. Should like homosexual people be able to adopt children? And some people say yes, some people say no. And the argument could be yes, but you have to admit that some homosexual parents are better than heterosexual parents. I mean, straight parents are not always good. You can have different opinions on this. I am of the opinion that America has finally gone in the right direction, allowing gay marriage. Love is love. People shouldn't get hurt about it. It's none of your business. Yeah, no problem for me, personally. So I know that's a sensitive topic in Korea because gay marriage is illegal in Korea, which I think is kind of backwards and kind of, yeah, you're not keeping very modern, Korea. We need to update some laws because that's not good. But yeah, America legalized it. How long ago did we legalize it? 10 years ago, I think. I don't remember exactly when, but we legalized it a while ago. Too late, but still, at least finally. Let's look at another phrase. You don't think. So you can use this sentence when you want to disagree with someone's opinion on a sensitive topic. So again, we're disagreeing with someone on a sensitive topic. So if someone's saying that they shouldn't have to pay taxes, that, I don't think I should have to pay taxes. You can say, you don't think that paying taxes is worth it. Oh, sorry, that last word should be it, not is. I-T. I had a little typo there. Jenny in the chat room is saying, is there a nicer way to ask if someone is gay, lesbian, or straight? I don't know. And I don't think it's important. It's none of your business. It's none of your business. Unless you're trying to date them and then they will tell you one way or another. But yeah, I don't think you should be asking that. Just like you shouldn't be asking people how much they weigh. That's my opinion. Let's see. At least that's something we can agree on. Use this phrase to conclude, to finish a difficult conversation when you can finally agree with the other person. So maybe you've been disagreeing with a topic, you've been fighting about something, sensitive topic. You can finally agree on something. There's one thing you can agree on. So use this phrase to conclude a difficult conversation when you can finally agree with the other person. For example, you might not agree with marriage, but I also think that some people shouldn't have kids. At least that's something we should agree on. So maybe some people don't believe in marriage at all. I know I've met people who don't believe that they want to get married because they just don't think it's a important thing in their life. That's fine. So at least that's something we can agree on. This is a very common phrase when you're talking about or arguing about something and you just can't agree. You don't want to fight with the other person, but you can't agree with them either. You just say, I think we will just have to agree to disagree. So use this phrase to conclude a conversation with someone you don't agree with. So if you're fighting or arguing about politics or whatever, and the other person isn't agreeing with you, you aren't agreeing with them, you don't want to keep arguing or fighting, you can just say, I don't want to fight, so I think we will just have to agree to disagree. This is a common one. I think we'll just have to agree to disagree. Don't get me started on. You can use this phrase when you don't want to discuss a topic because, like, either A, you just don't want to talk about it because you've talked about it too much, or maybe if you start talking about it, you will be too energetic and you will fight the other person if you start talking about this topic. Yeah, you just don't want to talk about this topic for any reason. Don't get me started on. So, an example would be, don't get me started on marijuana. I think everyone who smokes it should be thrown in prison. Yeah, that would be a very strong opinion. I would not want to talk to that person. I would probably get in a fight with them. So don't get me started on means I don't want to talk about this topic because I'll just talk about it too much. I don't really care too much for means that I don't really like this. Use this phrase when you don't want to discuss a topic. Again, you don't want to discuss it. So I have a sentence here. These sentences I don't agree with. I'm just giving you sentences of things that you might hear. It says, I don't really care too much for feminists. You might not want to talk to that person because you might end up arguing with them. So I don't really care too much for. It means I don't like this. And because you don't like it, you probably don't want to talk about it. Or if you talk to them, they're going to be very anti this, and just not a pleasurable person to talk to. Luna has an answer to the earlier question. She says, I always ask them, are you in a relationship? And if they say they're not, you can say, do you want to go out with me? Or do you want to try to meet my friend? And if they are in a relationship, I say, good for her. Okay. So just ask them if they're in a relationship. Yeah. Okay, we're reaching the end here. I don't have time for this to do we have some more topics we could talk about, like these topics. Kids or not having kids. Immigration. Minimum wage. These are some hot topics. Attractiveness. Religion. I don't have time. We've run out of time. I'm so sorry. Yeah, there's a few minutes left, but I need to leave a break, a little gap for the next teacher to come in on this same account. So that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this topic. I hope I didn't step on anyone's toes too much. Remember that phrase from earlier, step on someone's toes? I hope I didn't step on anyone's toes. And yeah, I hope you have a good weekend. Stay tuned for the next professor to join in. And have a great weekend, a great spring, a great summer, and I'll see you next semester maybe. Yeah, have a good day.